What's good, folks? Welcome into the Midstate 48, powered by 615 Preps. Getting you ready for week 7 in under 48 minutes. And let's go ahead and bring in Scott. Unfortunately, our third man, Tom Duggan, is not with us this week. He is a bit under the weather. So, Tom, wish you all the best. Get well soon, and hopefully we'll have you back next week.
Yeah, Tom, from all of us here, get better. Chris is tired of me carrying the load.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Of what, I won't tell you.
What a week last week, though. Had some great games, and we'll want to talk about them real quick. Week 6 gave us some good football starting on Thursday night. Lipscomb Academy, Oakland, a game we've been looking forward to for a couple of weeks, and it lived up to it. You know, a lot of times we get these games that are highly anticipated, and they turn out to be duds. This was not a dud.
Oh, no. This is, you and I talked, and this was so much like, we talked last week about it being almost like an Xbox game where you get the two best teams and you get to, how often does that happen that you actually get to, the teams get together and build a classic matchup? And, for all intents and purposes, it was just a great, great game and a great, great atmosphere.
Yeah. And we talk about the skill players for both sides, and the defense has really stole the show early on, especially Oakland's defense, which really had to keep them in the ball game because they made a couple of mistakes that nearly turned into some disastrous points against them.
Yeah, Lipscomb came right out and drove the ball, something that I didn't, and a lot of people didn't think was going to happen. I mean, we expected there to be scores, but for the greater part of the first half, and it was the Lipscomb Academy show.
Yeah, and you really, those of you who hadn't seen Lipscomb before Thursday, you got to see how efficient that offense is, how quick strike that offense is. They do not put themselves in bad spots. Luther Richardson, just running that offense, has done a tremendous job all year and did again on Thursday. Alex Broom had a terrific game. But what Trent Dilfer talked about afterwards was his offensive line, especially in the second half, and his defensive line too. Their lines got a bit beat up.
Yeah, and we talked a bit about the depth and athleticism of 6A schools, versus private schools, and that may or may not be a factor depending on how the game would go. And because it became a slugfest, because it became it was one of those games where every play was, something big could happen, that I think it eventually did wear on Lipscomb's lines a little bit, because, it was late when Oakland really broke that, when James broke that 75-yard run, and then the next time they had the ball, I believe that they scored again. So, that's why I was saying, it was really Lipscomb early, and then Oakland just kind of waited them out, wore them down.
Yeah,
and then was able to take over.
And at the time of James' first touchdown, that 75-yarder, was early in the fourth quarter. Lipscomb had just gone up 21-7, and then they basically get punched right back in the mouth. And I think that turned the game kind of on its head, because they weren't really expecting to just get Oakland's best immediately after that.
No, you're absolutely right. I think it did take a little bit something out of them. They get up and they're up by 2 scores all of a sudden, and then Oakland just takes it right back. I mean, it's a kickoff, and then one play later or something like that, and he's gone.
Yeah. And
it was really, really a good, hard fought game. It's one of those ones that you could watch over and over again, and get something new out of it every time. 2 really, really good coaches and 2 really good teams.
And credit Kevin Creasy for going for 2 with a little over 6 minutes to go when they scored to take the lead, because they didn't want to go to overtime with this team. Nobody did. Nobody wanted that. So it was a great call to go for 2 either way, because it's a non-region game. There's no punishment for losing it. I mean, it was the right call, I think.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think that, we talk about Oakland and how good they are, how rare it is that they get to play a team that pushes them. And Lipscomb pushed them. They pushed them well,
Yep.
and I think that Coach Creasy going for two was a matter of trying to get his offense to assert itself, to get their lines to assert itself, and kind of get back in and kind of enforce their will, if you will. Uh, and I think that was, like you said, I think that was a crucial call, uh, because I think it really, what went out of, we talk about the score taking the air out of them. That really took some of the wind out of the Lipscomb sails.
Yeah, and even though the Mustangs were able to drive back down the field into the final 90 seconds and get to within 2 yards of a win, Oakland's defense had one more stand in them, and they stopped the Lipscomb Academy offense on that goal to go situation with 5 seconds left, and were able to hang on. Just an exciting finish to a great game, and we're glad to see a game like that come across, because honestly, we need more of them.
Absolutely. And what a tremendous run stunt. What a tremendous call there on the goal line. They ran that stunt and ran it right at the back of Broom, and he absolutely there was nothing he could do.
Yep.
Tremendous call on the goal line. And you're right, Chris, absolutely right. We need more of these games. This is what high school football is all about. And if we can just talk about the atmosphere there, I mean there were scouts there, there was a lot of media there, but there was a lot of alumni there. Lipscomb traveled well.
Yep.
It was really a fun atmosphere to be around.
Yeah, and college coaches in attendance too. Eddie George was spotted on the sidelines, among others, and just a great night for football, and one of those that we hopefully get to see more of in the future. Let's move on to Friday's games. Scott, you were at White House Heritage, and they played Fairview. This one, for a while, looked like it was in doubt, but Fairview in the second half just kind of took over, didn't they?
Well, yeah, it was kind of. I got to go see two games, really. I mean, in all honesty, the first half was White House Heritage. They came out and just smacked. To use Chris Hughes's description, they got smacked. They got smacked in the mouth. White House Heritage just smacked them in the mouth. They came out, and White House Heritage did some things that, quite frankly, Fairview wasn't expecting. We talked about Fairview's ability to throw the ball. They thought they were going to be able to come out and throw the ball on Heritage. What it was is that what they saw on film was the previous week, Heritage corners were sitting back off the receivers, and they thought for sure they'd be able to hit those quick passes, those slants, and really be able to score. And when the first play they came out, all the corners jammed up on the receivers, and all of a sudden, game plan out the window. And they had to make an adjustment because Malachi I'm going to butcher this, but Alaramendi, I hope that's correct.
You got it.
And he was gashing the Yellow Jackets for a lot of yards, and the offensive line was really dominating. It took a little bit for Fairview to even get on the board. It went in, I think 14-6 at the half. But they made some defensive adjustments, and what they did, and they took Layden Grant. They went to a straight 50. They put Layden Grant in the middle and stopped the run game, forced the pass game for Heritage. And when they did that, it enabled them to create some mistakes. Of course, the fumble at the beginning of the second half didn't hurt. They get the ball turned over, they go down and score, get within two. But in all honesty, this was a game about. It was really a two-game, or a tale of two games. In all honesty, and Coach Dickerson will tell you. He just didn't think his guys in the second half were ready to take the game. He didn't think mentally they were ready to close. I think those were his exact words. I think they'll take this and learn from it. But Fairview, very dangerous game, but I think they come out the better for it.
Yep, they've got to go back to White House next week to play the Blue Devils on the other side of town. So,
And
They
Coach
got some,
Chris Hughes is very, very worried about Rain and Blackburn.
they've got some bus miles on them in this couple of weeks. Um, my game was Beach at Summit, and this was for a while an intriguing ball game because Beach in the first half defensively had kind of stalled Summit's game plan. They were blitzing from different places on Keaton or on Destin Wade, and really held them in check for the better part of a half. It was 7-7. You know, after Wade hit Brady Pierce for the first of 3 touchdown connections, Beach came right down to the end of the first quarter and scored. Bronco Hanks went in on a short run on 4th and goal. Summit really was just kind of confused, and they had to make some adjustments themselves. They finally did in the second half, and the biggest turning point was right before halftime. Beach was driving down to take the lead, then throw a pick, and then on the last play of the half, Destin Wade and Keaton Wade kind of improvise. Keaton finds himself out in the open after blocking for a few seconds, wide open. Destin hits him, 28-yard touchdown at the end of the half, and they go up. And they were up by a couple of scores there at the half, and that was about it. And Beach in the second half didn't quite have the same vigor on defense that they had in the first half. So a great win for Summit. Brady Pierce had a big night at 3 touchdown catches, and Destin Wade threw 4 passes for touchdowns, ran a long one from 62 yards for another one. Just another great night for Summit, starting to insert themselves as not only just a contender in 6A, but maybe the favorite out of the western half of that bracket. Though I think Ravenwood will have something to say about that this week. We'll talk more about that later.
That's it's amazing though, Chris. You talk about those brothers being able. It's like they drew it up in the dirt in the backyard.
Yeah, it's like they've done it before. But it's one of those things, and Brian Coleman was talking about this. As a blocker in the backfield, you have several seconds before you just go out and get open, and that's what Keaton Wade did. He was in there to block. Plenty of time elapsed. He goes out and just drifts out and finds an opening, and he's wide open. And at that point, he makes one cut and he's gone.
Wow.
And Beach had to cover for so long in that play. There was nobody in the area to get him. And just a great job by Destin Wade of avoiding trouble. And Keaton Wade, knowing what he needed to do, get himself open and find the end zone. That was the turning point in the ballgame.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was. Summit's playing really well right now, maybe as well as anybody. And I'm curious to see if that momentum can continue this week. It's a big game against Ravenwood. It's going to be a great atmosphere there at Summit as well. You're actually going to be there this week. So enjoy that first off. And
I've been looking forward to going to see Summit for quite some time.
Yep.
So I'm really, really intrigued by this. And I think this is a great matchup.
And we'll talk more about that and who you got to with our picks as well. For now, we need to get to a quick break. And before we do that, let's get a little word from our friends at Innovate Medical.
Ooh, give me some of that 3-day weekend stuff.
I like 3-day weekends.
Yeah.
I'm taking one this week myself. So
nice.
So we'll try to see how that works. So we had plenty of questions that came in the mailbag this week, and we wanted to start out with who we thought some 6A contenders might be. Scott, we've talked about several teams in 6A for most of the season. As we see 6A state contenders, who are they?
Well, Oakland, of course. They're the first ones that popped to the top of my head. And truthfully, they're the king until somebody knocks them off. I think that, but that being said, Oakland's the easy answer. You can look out there and the real question is going to be, who are the teams that might possibly be able to knock them off at whatever point? And of course, Maryville's always a team that's out there on the horizon for them. But I think that really there, if you look over in Region 7. Ravenwood or Summit is one of those teams that has enough talent, I think, on those teams to, and it's any given Friday or Saturday or Thursday, depending. when do they play that one? Um, but it's any given day that a Summit or a Ravenwood could come out and take it to. We saw what Lipscomb could did, uh, for 3 quarters against Oakland. So I think that those are two teams, Ravenwood and those Region 7 teams, are the most likely to be the ones to knock off Ravenwood.
I tend to agree with that. I think Region 7 is going to mostly have success in the playoffs in the first couple of rounds of Region 8 because the Memphis teams, having not played last year, they're a year behind. That it has stunted their development by a year, and they may be a year away from contending again. Uh, Ravenwood Summit, yeah, I could see those two. But here's the thing: Oakland getting a close call like that might have been the best thing for them because now they understand that they're vulnerable, and that makes them an even more dangerous team than they already are.
And they have a game coming up with CPA, and we'll know more about Oakland when we see how they come out against CPA, because that game, if they come out and just wear CPA out, then we know that Oakland paid attention, and they learned exactly what you're talking about. We can't skate on talent. We have to be disciplined. We have to be good every play. If they come out and have another scare, you know, yeah, it becomes a question. Now, it could just be that CPA is that good. I'm not going to discount them and say Oakland's going to run away with it.
Right.
CPA will have something to say about it, but I think that you're right. That kind of scare just makes the Patriots more dangerous.
Especially considering CPA could very well use the blueprint Lipscomb just used. Be patient on offense and just don't give up the big play early on defense. Don't get behind, because that's what Lipscomb did. That they were patient on offense. They took their opportunities when they had them. They didn't get behind, and they forced Oakland into a rare mistake. That's the formula, but so many teams are unable to capitalize on it.
Yeah, and they didn't throw the deep ball very much at all.
No.
That's the difference between Lipscomb and CPA, is that Luther Richardson can throw that deep ball very, very well. And I'm not saying that Cade Law can't, but that's not their game.
Yep.
That's their game is exactly what you said: grind it, wear them down, play physical, and that's a lot of what Lipscomb did, was just wear down, and little, just kind of frustrate you to the point where you make a mistake.
Okay. So, with that said, let's segue right into the next question: predictions on CPA versus Lipscomb.
Well, up until this point, up until last week, I would have said CPA, but Lipscomb showed me something coming out there against Oakland. They showed me that, and not only did they show me during the game, but they showed me after. They wanted that game badly, and I think that they're tired of being the runner-up. And I think that Lipscomb right now has the itch to really do well. I think that, in my opinion, Lipscomb's probably going to have they're not going to have more incentive. I'm not going to give them that, but I think right now they've got the talent and they've got the drive to win that game.
I agree. But CPA hasn't been talked about that much. For a defending champion, they've been overlooked. And that's a mistake. That's a bad mistake to overlook a team that's that talented, that veteran, and that deep.
That's a very good point, because if you're looking for bulletin board material, there it is.
They've got all they need.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's talking about them. Hey, we're still here. We still have, two guys that are going to play at the next level. We've got more than that probably. We're, so.
And we're the defending champs.
And we're the exactly. I mean, so in all honesty, yeah, you're right. Lipscomb has probably their own chip on. I mean, CPA probably has their own chip on their shoulder.
As good as the two games they played against each other last year were, we could see two even better games this year with the same results.
You
I
could.
don't. I will say this: I don't think one team's going to beat the other one twice.
No, and that leads to another question: do you hold anything back?
No, you can't. I don't think
You
you can.
really can't, can
You
you?
can't because you have to determine your own seating in the playoffs.
Right.
There may be something that you want to save for later on, sure, but
Well,
you can't leave a whole lot on the table.
well, and right, unless you're actually in desperate times in that first game. Yeah, yeah, you're definitely there are some things you want to hold in the cookie jar if you don't need them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't. I'm going into Bobby Bush. You can't hold anything back.
No, I don't think you can really afford to hold too much back. I mean, maybe there's something that
Mm-mm.
you might consider saving for a second meeting, but just know that it's not guaranteed.
And is there really anything you could hold back? I mean, these teams know each other so well
No, I don't think
anyway.
there is, honestly. I mean,
Yeah,
unless you're just drawing up something new that they've never seen, or at least not seen from you, which quite honestly both sides probably are, then I don't know. But they're
yeah.
close. I think it's too tough to call at this point.
That game is going. That's another one of those games. It's almost like Oakland and Lipscomb. I mean, that's one of those can't miss games because
It's
there's going
going
to
to
be
be a
so
quality
much
game
at
in the schedule.
stake,
Yeah,
and these teams are so very good.
yeah. Because I mean, the winner of that game would inevitably have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So
Right.
that's a big deal for them. Let's keep going on. East Nashville got a couple of questions from Coach underscore Trey 615. Thoughts on East Nashville season? Thoughts on East Nashville versus Green Hill game? Let's talk about the Eagles. They're in first place in their region and they're in good shape right now. And here's the remaining
Yeah.
schedule. They're at Green Hill, at Maplewood, have an open date, then at Riverdale and versus Smith County. East Nashville has not been afraid to play up. It is shown in the results. They have lost to the higher classification teams, but they're better off for playing them.
Well, absolutely. We've talked about honing your skills. You learn very little from winning compared to what you learn from losing, and playing up just tells you more about yourself. I think East Nashville is a. You want to talk about an underrated team or an underdiscussed team? That's one of them right there. Um, that being said, uh, you know, I think that they've got a favorable. Well, I say that, and then I'm looking at Riverdale. But I think it's
From their region schedule,
from the
though, it is
region
favorable.
schedule. I
Yeah,
think it is favorable. But I think that they end up with you know looking out into the crystal ball there. Yeah, I think it's their region.
yeah,
If they don't make a mistake,
yeah,
uh, or really just kind of throw something away.
yeah. I mean, Maplewood has not been very competitive all year. Smith County,
Mm-mm.
I think, is a year away from being a contender in that region. They've already beaten Stratford, which I thought was the game they needed to win the region. So they're
Right.
sitting in good shape to finish 6-4. They're having to go to Green Hill this week, another team that's kind of hungry right now and playing really good football. So I don't know if East Nashville wins that game at Green Hill, but I like their prospects for winning the region and winning a game or two in the playoffs. Now they're going to match up with Region 6, which is becoming a little bit tougher and tougher every week with White House and Fairview and Waverly and Heritage and that group over there. So it's going to be a grind for them in those 3A playoffs because they're not going to have an easy road.
No, no, they're not. I agree with you. I think this week's game is another one of those honing games. I think Green Hill is going to give them. I think this is going to be a really, really good, fun game to watch. Actually, but I agree with you. When they get to the playoffs, it's going to be they're going to have to draw on all that experience they picked up playing those better teams. And the main thing with them is that they're going to have to elevate their game. They're going to have to play disciplined. They're going to have to play physical. And if they do that, then they can make some noise.
Let's move on to the next one. Thoughts on Gordonsville High School football from JD Musk. We've talked about Gordonsville a lot this year, and for good reason. They're 6-0. They're ranked fifth in 1A in the AP poll, and the rest of their schedule is pretty favorable. The only glaring date is that one at Trousdale County as to whether they can get unbeaten in the regular season or not. At 6-0 right now, what do you like? Do you like their chances?
Oh yeah, I like their chances a lot, quite frankly. I think that there's, yeah, my doubts with them probably died in Stewart County. Um, I thought that Stewart County, traveling that far, playing up, what was it, two classifications.
Hmm.
I thought that uh, that was going to be a tell, but they went over there and not only did they win, they whooped them. And that told me everything I need to know about the Gordonsville defense, and that is where they're making their bones this year.
Yep.
I think that Gordonsville is a team to beat. I think that they're on a collision course with Meigs County. Um, Again, as long as they don't make errors and lose focus. If they had a running game right now, they would be dang near unstoppable.
And I think they're starting to find that running game too a little bit. It's gotten better in the last few weeks. And going on the road to Coalfield last week and winning was huge. And a quick note about that game: uh, we all remember Coach Keith Henry, who passed away from COVID-19 last year.
Mm.
His wife actually fed Gordonsville's team after the game.
Oh wow!
Those two coaches had a pretty good relationship. They call each other every week, from what I've been told, and she fed them and hosted them after that game Friday. So, what
Oh
an awesome
how!
gesture! And yeah, it's great to see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's amazing.
Yep. Let's see, next up on our list is one that we've already been talking about, is the Green Hill.
You should have corrected me.
I did.
I had the wrong. I
Correct.
had the.
Correct yourself. Then this is your chance.
Well, I'm trying. What region where was Gordonsville in again?
Gordonsville's in Region 4 of Class 1A.
There
So,
it is. There it
yeah,
is. Yeah, yeah. My mistake. I was sitting there saying Meigs County, and
yeah.
that
Meigs
was
County
the
would be
wrong.
Trousdale in
That's
2A. So,
Trousdale. That was Trousdale. Yeah. Yeah. They're
yeah.
on a collision course, but not with Meigs County.
No, their collision courses with South Pittsburgh in the
Right.
quarterfinals. So
Exactly.
that's
My
going to
bad.
be their stepping stone to the state.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Green Hill. We have quite a few questions. Opinion on Green Hill so far? How about them Green Hill Hogs? Has Green Hill impressed you yet? Yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
If you've watched this show, uh, and if you haven't, where have you been? If you've watched this show, you know that I thought that Green Hill needed another year, and they are. When we did our word association, mine was that they were ahead of schedule. I think that Green Hill is playing a very good brand of ball right now. Yeah, I mean, much more than I would have expected. Coach Crouch has done a tremendous job over there.
Yeah, things have lined up right for them. When you've got guys scoring 5 touchdowns on 5 touches, it's going in the right direction for you. Forget the Nolensville plan. The Green Hill plan is one of their own. They're not worried about just making the playoffs. They're shooting for a region title, and there's a legitimate chance for them to get there. Now, their last 2 games against Station Camp and Mount Juliet are going to decide that, but they're in a position to do what so few teams could ever dream of doing: winning a region in your first year of eligibility.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't think that. I mean, look at just making the playoffs in your first year of eligibility is an accomplishment.
Right.
Not it's nice to. I mean, that's a great goal to have if you came out and said we want to win the region, and of course that's what you're going to say. But realistically, um, just to get a playoff game in your first year of eligibility is is still a lofty goal.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
this isn't a 4 or 5 team region. This is a 17 region. You've got to win enough region games to get in,
yes,
and they're
yes,
already in position to challenge for the title. So, I mean, it's a big deal for Green Hill to be in this spot. And yes, they have impressed us.
yes, and
It's beyond what we thought they would be capable of doing, even though we thought a playoff spot could be in the cards this year anyway.
yeah. I mean, they run the ball extremely well.
Yeah.
And that's a formula right there. for early success if you play good defense and run the ball. And I think that they're doing that.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of a semifinal of sorts in that region Thursday night when Mount Juliet Vision Station camp, because the winner of that game has got the inside track on the region title and will have to beat Green Hill for it. The loser could maybe mess things up if they beat Green Hill, but they'd have some work to do.
Right.
Next up on our list of questions, Stratford. Do y'all think Stratford can make a big run after winning back to back? Let's define big run for just a second, because Stratford in 3A, we've talked about East Nashville, so Stratford would have virtually the same road.
Mm-hmm.
So, the remaining schedule, they've got Smith County at home, basically for the number 2 seed in that region this week. Then they're at FRA. They've got an open date after that. Then they host Davidson Academy, and they travel to Jackson County for their final region game of the year, which should be a win. Then you talked about Region 6 in the playoffs again, like we did with East Nashville. So, what we just said about East Nashville, their road's not going to be easy in the playoffs. Stratford's in the same boat.
Right. I think anybody coming out of this region is going to be going to have a tough road, but Stratford is right where we expected them to be, which was in second spot in
Yep.
that region. Now, one team that that we didn't expect maybe to be quite as competitive is Smith County. So that game that they have this week is going to be huge,
Yep.
and in all likelihood going to be for that that elusive home game.
Yep.
I know we'll get more to that in the next segment, but Stratford is exactly where I thought they'd be. They throw the ball extremely well. They have a dynamic offense. It's just going to be, it's going to come down to those games and not making mistakes.
Watertown is next on our list, and we got a couple of questions about them. And this one, am I wrong, or is Watertown a very young team? No, you're right. They are young in quite a few spots, especially up front. And that's kind of been where they have struggled in establishing the running game this year. It's gotten better as the season has gone on, but
yeah,
they're
they're
still a little behind.
yeah they've Watertown. If there's one thing that they've got, they're young this year, and to Chris, exactly your point, that running game, that lack of a running game is hurting their passing game. Because teams are they don't have to load up the box to stop it.
Yep.
Watertown's winning. The one thing they're just playing well is their defense.
Yeah.
Their defense is keeping them in games, and that's the good thing about that is if your defense can keep you in games, then you can do just enough offensively, probably to win some games that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Especially looking at the schedule that they have.
Yeah, East Robertson is circling this date and licking their chops right now, because this is their opportunity to get to that number 2 seed. It's going to be for number 2 in this region, more than likely, because I don't know that Watertown's going to be able to play with Trousdale County the way the Yellow Jackets are playing at this point, but they're going to have to beat East Robertson for that opportunity. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting in third.
Yeah, I agree. I think Trousdale County is on a collision course with Meigs. Hey, did I get that one right?
You got that one right.
Now I didn't know this question was coming up, but thankfully he redeemed himself. No redemption. But I think that you're absolutely right. This game this week is going to tell a lot about how much Watertown has improved and how much they're growing this week. This will be a big game for them.
Right. Next up, from Lil Huff _24, do you think White House Heritage can still make the playoffs? Yes, I think they can. And the schedule's not easy for them, because they're going to have Waverly, Stewart County, and White House left. But as long as they beat Cheatham County, really that's their game. You win that game, you're going to get in.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they're going to probably have to beat Stewart County too, honestly. But you have to beat Cheatham County first.
Right, and I think they can. I think they will. I think they will make the playoffs. I think that they have a team that can beat Stewart County. They have a team that should beat Cheatham County. Waverly and White House may have a little bit too much. But I tell you what, playing Fairview this week and playing the first half, if they can learn from that, and if they can, they, like I said, they held a Waverly, a very physical Fairview team, uh, to 6 points at the half. So, who knows? And then the White House game is a rivalry game, so that's you got to toss a lot of things out the window with that. So, yeah, I think White House Heritage has it to make the playoffs, provided that they come back from this loss with Fairview and put some things together, learn from it.
Yeah, but they cannot afford a loss to Stewart County, though, because you don't want to go into that White House game needing another win to get in the playoffs, even though it's a rivalry game and you're going to be jacked up for it. That's not a situation that is conducive to achieving your goals, having to win a rivalry game like that just to get in. I would want that in my back pocket going to week 11.
No, I agree. I think that they have to win. I think realistically they have to win at least two more of those, and one of them has to be one of them will be Cheatham County, I'm pretty sure, and I think the other one, best opportunity, as you say, is Stewart County.
Yeah. Last one, Wilson Central. Grant Roundtree asked, "Do you think Wilson Central will make the playoffs?" I think they will too, because the way this region sets up for them. They've already played Mount Juliet. They played them to one score. Yeah, I mean, they've got to play Station Camp, but I think Wilson Central does get this 4 seed. They've got to beat White County to do it, but as long as you beat White County, I think they should get that number 4 seed. I don't know that Hillsborough is going to be able to come back and make this up for them, but I mean, they could play spoiler in week 11. Who knows?
And they could. I think that the odds are in their favor. I think that, again, as you said, Chris, I think that the White County game is going to be their biggest stumbling block. But I think that they can take care of business there because they still have a good defense, and they're continuing to grow offensively. And I think that I think that they will do enough to make it in there in that 4th spot. Maybe, and you don't know. I had to look at that Station Camp game. Depending on what happens this week, that could be another one up for grabs.
Yep. Well, thanks everybody for the questions. Glad to do another mailbag as usual. We'll do it again hopefully later this season. Last week was a pretty good week for the bunch. So let's bring up the standings after 6 weeks. Fans still out in front by a game, but
fans, well done.
Went 9-1, as did I.
Okay, fans, well done.
Okay, I see what you're doing there. Yeah, good job. Yeah. Tom and I are tied for second, 1 game back. Scott, you're 4 back. Drake and Reggie are bringing up 5th and 6th, respectively.
Yeah, I'm being mocked by the cat over here. 8-2.
Yeah. Yeah, the cat's trying to throw you out, apparently.
Evidently.
Yeah. Let's look back at week 6 real quick. Tom's Told You So came with Nashville Christian as we all took Davidson Academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a win.
He called it. Yeah. We all had Oakland. We all had Independence. You, me, and Reggie had Ravenwood, and yep. I sided with Reggie with MBA over Brentwood Academy. Hint to you NBA fans out there.
Yep.
Reggie had Wilson Central, but
boy, he almost pulled that one off.
Yeah, you almost had you had BGA for a little while, but JP2 pulled away in the second half. Yeah. Drake had White House Heritage before. If that had ended at halftime, he'd have had that one.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's turn the page and go to week 7, starting with a Thursday night game, Mount Juliet at Station Camp. And Reggie's going with the Bison. Everybody else siding with the Golden Bears.
Well, you say he's a defensive cat.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to go rapid fire with these. Brentwood Independence. Reggie's going with Brentwood, and the rest of us are taking the Eagles in that Region 7 6A showdown.
Yep.
Columbia at Page. Reggie again going against the grain, going with Columbia while the rest of us take Page. Is he on to something, Scott?
He may be. I honestly was on the fence with this because Columbia is playing tremendous defense.
East Robertson at Watertown. Okay, now it's my turn to go against the green. I'm taking the Indians in this one, and everybody else is having Watertown.
Well, your turn. Tell me what
like
you're
I
seeing.
said in the last segment, East Robertson's licking their chops. This is their opportunity. Watertown's running game has not been what it once was, and they've got an opportunity with their playmakers to make something happen. They've been competitive in their region games this year, and the opportunity is just there for them to get that home game that they've been wanting for so long and be number 2 in this region. With Watertown's rebuilding a little bit with some of their youth, this might be the week that East Robertson can do it. In most years, I wouldn't pick this, but right now, I think the time may be right.
Is Taylor Groves back?
We will see.
Okay.
We will see. Fairview at White House. We're pretty split on this one. Tom and I are going with White House. The rest going with Fairview.
And this is a coin flip for me. I honestly think that it's going to come down to how well the defense plays and can contain Rain and Blackburn.
Yeah. I mean, it's a coin flip for me too. I think these two teams are evenly matched. It should be a fun ball game over there in White House as well.
Oh yeah.
Let's look at this next page. Started with Ravenwood at Summit, and we're going to give Reggie the honors first.
Prognosticator Reggie to show up. We have one food dish on this side. We have one food dish on this side. And he's chosen that side.
Without hesitation either.
No. Side, but it was his choice. Yeah, you think we're waiting now? I waited 10 minutes for him to come up there and jump on the dang table. I thought you cut this. Wiring minds have had enough. Come over here. Let's see who he selected. He has selected Ravenwood.
I kept waiting for the heel turn where he would go down to Summit's plate and take it, but it didn't quite happen. So
yeah.
Reggie does go with Ravenwood. The rest of us, however, take Summit.
Wow.
So,
and that
I think Reggie may be onto something this week. He may be. We may be sitting a week from now thinking, "What in the world were we thinking?"
Yeah, if he pulls it off this week, I may get him his own FanDuel account. Not a sponsor.
Smith County at Stratford. I'm taking Stratford while the rest take Smith County. I've said Stratford's in the right spot for the whole year. This is the week that they show why.
This is in all honesty, I'm surprised that I thought I would be on an island here, because I honestly believe that Smith County is going to win a game they're not supposed to win. I think this was going to be the game. I'm surprised that this many people took Smith County.
Yeah, I kind of am too, actually. I think Stratford is getting better at the right time, especially for this game. I think Smith County is a year away from being a serious contender in this region, and Stratford right now, this is their game to get, I think. Smyrna at Cane Ridge, we're kind of split on this one. Tom and Reggie take Cane Ridge. The rest of us go with Smyrna.
Yeah, I think Smyrna's offense is just clicking a little bit more than Cane Ridge's right now.
Yep. Stewart's Creek at Rockvale. Tom goes with Rockvale. The rest of us are on the Red Hawks.
Well, that's dangerous. Usually Tom's got 3 told you so. This may be another one.
Who knows?
But, that running game.
Though. This is big for Rockvale, too, because they have to win this game to have playoff hopes, unfortunately. It looks like that because the back half of their schedule is rough.
I just think too much Gabe Walker here.
Yeah, Gabe Walker, I think 4 touchdowns each of the last 3 weeks. It's been quite a run for him, and he may very well continue that this week.
Yeah.
Our spotlight game of the week is Pope Prep at NBA. NBA off that 21-0 win over Brentwood Academy. Pope Prep taking care of business against BGA, and we're split again. And I went back and forth on this. I thought I would go with Pope Prep. I don't know. I'm leaning NBA. I could be wrong.
Well, I could say the same thing for me. I mean, last time I went against Pope Prep, they pretty much spanked me. So, uh, I was going to learn my lesson that, you told me last time Kenny Minchie was going to throw all over the place. I think he stands a chance to do that here.
Yeah.
I think you're in, as much fun as I believe I'm going to have at Summit and Ravenwood. I think you're going to have just as much fun covering NBA and Pope Prep here.
I will say this though: if this game gets in a shootout, it's Pope's to win. I don't know because the way NBA has been using Marcel Reed, I'm waiting for them to unleash him.
Right.
And maybe this is the week they do it. If so, then we're talking a different talk next week. But until they do, I don't know that NBA offensively can hang in a shootout. But I think NBA's defense is good enough to contain JP2 to an extent.
To me, the game hinges. I think Pope Prep I think it comes down to their wide receivers are just better. Now, if they're good enough to beat NBA's defensive backs, then I think if NBA's defense kicks in and forces them to run, I think it's NBA's game.
Yeah, we'll see. Should be another good week for it. We do have time for a final word from both of us.
Hey, last week we passed 3,600 followers on Twitter, and for that, I just want to thank everybody for following us, for supporting our endeavors here. If you get a chance, if you're watching this, odds are you're subscribing. Try to reach out and get some other people to subscribe, rate us, review us. It only helps us grow, and helps us cover these high school kids that are really deserving of coverage. If you'd like, you're definitely invited to join Stadium Club. We have you can either ask us about it at 615preps@gmail.com, or you can watch the video that's also on this YouTube channel. And we also have some other initiatives coming up. This pretty cool shirt. I'll point to the wrong one every time, but we have merchandise out there as well. So if you want to help us support, if you want to help us and support high school athletics, high school football in the Midstate, come and join us.
Gonna make it short and sweet. We need more games like Lipscomb Academy in Oakland, not less. It's good for football in this area. It was a showcase game for the state, and I know that we've got some more big games coming up in the next couple of weeks that are just going to even be that much more healthy for high school football in Tennessee. It's a growing area. The talent is growing like never before, and it's just dang fun. I mean, Thursday night was a great atmosphere. We're going to have some more of those down the stretch, and when we get to Chattanooga in December, we're going to see that a lot of teams that got there were playing games like Lipscomb Academy and Oakland played on Thursday, and like some of these other matchups that are coming up this week and in the weeks to come. So it was a great night last week, and looking forward to more of those this week. And we're just having a lot of fun with the rest of the season because it's been pretty good so far.
Absolutely.
That is all the time we've got for Scott Burton and for our colleague Tom Duggan, who is under the weather this week. I'm Chris Brooks. Thank you for watching Midstate 48 here at 615 Preps. We will see you next week.
Hi, Tom.
That knocked out. Scott, 4 years.
I basically just wanted to make sure that everybody knew about Stadium Club. You can join us if you want to help support our coverage of high school football in the Middle Tennessee area. You can do that by joining the Stadium Club. It's just a few bucks monthly, and you get a lot of perks. There are other things you can do. We're always looking for sponsors, and just so people understand, almost all this money, I'd say all this money, goes back into coverage. In all honesty, we use it for better equipment and for some of the projects we're going on. So your support out there, and thank you to those who have supported us and followed us, and if you can't support us monetarily, make sure you subscribe, tell your friends, rate us, review us, follow us on Twitter. Those kind of things help us too. And we got some pretty cool merch. I never can point to it right. We got these shirts along with some other things coming down the line. So if you can and you like what we do, please please help us out. And but we appreciate you just watching and following along. For that, we thank you very much.
My last word goes back to last week and getting this Oakland Lipscomb Academy game set up. It took a couple of weeks. People wanted this game, the players lobbied for this game. That was the biggest thing. They wanted to be on the field against the best that the state had to offer, and that's refreshing to see. A long time ago, we had this public-private split, and these public and private schools wouldn't play each other, and that makes no sense. The only reason they're split is for championships. But on the field, let them play each other and play each other quite a bit. Iron sharpens iron. That's the one thing we're taking away from some of these games that are coming up, is that some of the best teams are playing each other in big-time games with big-time recruits making big-time plays. So really, why wouldn't we want to see more of these games? And these have a championship game feel. When we get to Chattanooga in December, you're going to see some of these teams a lot better off for having played a Lipscomb Academy, an Oakland, a CPA, a Ravenwood, a Riverdale, an NBA, and others of that sort. So I'm all for more of these games going forward. Now, when we get to the next classification cycle in 2 years, it's going to be really interesting to see how some of these fall, because I want to see more of these games and not less. That's all I got.
Amen, brother.
All right. That's it for the Midstate 48 for this week. We get you ready for week 7. Hopefully it took us less than 48 minutes. If it didn't, well, we needed some overtime, and that's okay too. For Scott Burton and for Tom Duggan, who we hope gets better, and we'll hopefully have him back next week, I'm Chris Brooks. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Stay healthy, everybody.